Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Beyond the Scoreboard, presented by RDSE, and I'm your host, Michael Lyons. And today we are talking about the second round of the NBA playoffs. We finally made it, and it feels so great to keep watching basketball, even though we are about almost halfway through, and then there will be none for a couple months. But before we jump into the second round matchups, we're going to do some little house cleaning things right now that have been going on in the NBA. That aren't playoff related. Starting off with the Chicago Bulls, they fired AK and they fired Mark Eversley in the GM and president of basketball operations, and now they have brought in Bryson Graham from the Atlanta Hawks, who has a very long track record of great drafting. He gets credited for drafting Trey Murphy III, Herb Jones, Jose Alvarado, Dyson Daniels. All great NBA players. Dyson Daniels was with him in Atlanta. And then he also got credited for making the Atlanta for New Orleans swap last year that gave Atlanta New Orleans first-round pick for this year, which at this point could be a top 5 pick in how the lottery will go coming up this Sunday, which we will talk about in just a couple minutes. Bryson Graham, I think he's going to fit well in Chicago. They're a young core, young team right now. He has a great track record of drafting, so that is exactly what you need with a young core. Build around Modest or get your next star in this draft class, depending on where you land. Then also, we saw Masai Ujiri take the Dallas Mavericks spot, where I don't know exactly what his position name is. I don't think he's a GM or anything, but he is in the front office. He's going to be making some moves, and I loved Masai's just opening press conference. I loved Bryson Graham's as well. His was really excellent, where he was talking about, I loved Michael Jordan when I was a kid, getting to play here. We got to bring back Chicago basketball or whatever. He said, that's great. Now you just got to do it. Same for Masai. He has a long track record. He won an NBA championship with the Toronto Raptors, built that team up from the ground, got Kawhi, drafted Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, and now he's getting a fresh start with Cooper Flagg. So it's going to be a super fun to see how Masai is going to build that team. It kind of already fits on how Masai likes to build teams. I mean, if we just go back to his Toronto days, it was a bunch of 6'7" to 6'10" wings that just could play 2 through 5, 1 through 5 at some points, and switchable. That's what Masai likes to play. He's already got Cooper Flagg, which is one of the best defenders at his age that can guard 1 through 5. I think Cooper Flagg is going to be one of those guys that he can switch on to anybody on the perimeter. He's not a slouch down low because he's got a big, strong body down low. So it's going to be super fun to see how Masai is going to build this team. You already got P.J. Washington. You got Najee Marshall. You got a bunch of guys that kind of fit that mold already. So we'll see what Masai does with that, see what he does with Kyrie, and then see what he does in the first round, which Dallas right now is sitting at 8th best odds right now. And now, to talk about the draft lottery before we get into the second round. Please, NBA, help the Sacramento Kings. I am not one to believe that the lottery is rigged, but if a team like Dallas jumps up to number 1, Chicago jumps up to number 1, Golden State jumps up to number 1, I may say it's rigged. I may say that the NBA only cares about their most profitable teams, which in some cases is true. But hopefully Sacramento can land a top 2 pick, get spoon-fed either Darren Peterson or AJ DeBonsa. Just going to go over who I really like in this draft. I like AJ. I like Darren Peterson. I think those are both building blocks for the future. They're going to change a franchise once they get into the building. Cam Boozer, I like Cam Boozer. I think he's a great player. Shout out Elias if he's listening to this. Well, he better be listening to this because we got something to talk about later. But Cam Boozer, I think he's a great player. I personally don't want to go through the pain of drafting a 4/5 from Duke and then them not work out because they play for the Sacramento Kings. I just don't want to deal with that again, Elias. I don't want to deal with it. So, Cam Boozer, please stay away from Sacramento. It's going to be the best for your career, and it will be the best for my sanity, not having to deal with another Duke big man that could possibly be a bust because we don't know how to build around him. Then I really like Caleb Wilson after that, I think, and then Darius Acuff. Those top four for me. If we can land any of those guys, I'll feel super happy. Obviously would love to land one of the top two guys, but Caleb Wilson, Darius Acuff are a good 3-4. And then at 5, if Cam Boozer's there, like say we land the 5th pick and everybody else that I want is gone above us, which I don't think is going to happen, then I would be 100% okay with bringing on Cam Boozer. I just don't want us to be between two guys that I like, Cam Boozer or Darius Acuff, somebody that I like and somebody that I just don't personally want to see in Sacramento. Make the right move, Vivek. Make the right move, the front office. But the Sacramento King fans deserve something to cheer about again. It's been, 3 long years of just nothing once again. And it was 16 years for a long time without anything to root for. And then we finally got it back. And then Vivek did Vivek things and ruined the Sacramento Kings once again. But, there's always a positive for next year. And it comes this Sunday. And if there is no positive, if we don't land a top 5 pick, you may not hear me talk about the Sacramento Kings for another year because at this point, DeMar DeRozan is going to be on our team again next year. Zach LaVine's going to be on our team again next year. Domantas Sabonis is going to be on our team again next year. And because nobody wants them. They're just not good at basketball anymore. They don't contribute to a winning basketball culture. Big men like Domantas Sabonis just aren't wanted. He's a good playmaker. He's a good rebounder, but he can't score the ball super efficiently, and he's not a great defender. No team wants that. He doesn't just catch lobs. He doesn't just sit below the rim. He wants to get the ball at the top of the key, play make for everybody around him, which is good on some teams. It was great that 1 year in Sacramento, but then after that, it went downhill. And I still think Sabonis is a great NBA center. He just doesn't contribute to a winning team, in my opinion. Maybe somebody will take a chance on him, just hoping that it will change. Like Toronto, maybe. They need some big men after they got bounced in the first round by Cleveland. Boston, maybe. If you want to team up, you want to have 2 Sacramento Kings centers as your duo. But other than that, there really isn't that many teams out there that I look at. They need a center. Nobody wants Zach LaVine because he's going to accept his player option, and that's too much money. Nobody's going to want DeMar DeRozan because he's a great player, but he doesn't play the new era of basketball. He doesn't shoot enough threes for a team to want him on the floor with how many shots he's going to take. He's going to take some really deep mid-range shots, get to the mid-range, which just aren't super efficient shots anymore. It's either get to the rim or shoot a 3 unless you're an elite mid-range shooter like a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or a Kevin Durant. And then the only guy I really look at on our team that could have some sort of value, and it's not really going to come in the offseason, it's probably going to come at the trade deadline next year, is a guy like DeAndre Hunter, maybe. If he has a good start to the year in Sacramento, he might be able to be on the trade block, but I don't know. DeAndre Hunter's so up and down in his career that there's a chance that he just isn't good next year, and there's nobody willing to trade for him. But then I believe he's an expiring deal next year, so we'll get off his money. We'll get off Zach LaVine's money next year, and I believe DeMar DeRozan as well. So hopefully this Sunday, the Sacramento Kings franchise will be changed. The NBA will finally award us. We're finally bad for a year. Please award us. Don't award Utah, who just sits at the bottom of the conference every single year. Don't award Washington with the first overall pick. Sacramento, Brooklyn, Memphis, Atlanta. Any of those teams, and maybe Indiana, just because I'd want to see what happens if they do get a top 3 pick. But if, in my eyes, a perfect draft, Sacramento 1, obviously. Then Atlanta 2, because I think New Orleans is the worst franchise in the entire NBA, and I would just love for Atlanta, who was a 6 seed, with just some unwanted players, to then get the 2 seed, or the second overall pick, and be able to get a Darren Peterson or an AJ DeBonsa. If they could just get any of these good guards in this draft, that's going to be huge for them. And then Memphis, so they can just fully build on their guy. So they don't have to worry about Ja Morant. They can move on from Ja Morant and just build on a new star in Memphis. Brooklyn, I also would like Brooklyn. I like their young core. I like Yegor Demon. I like Drake Powell. The others like Ben Saraf, Nolan Traore, don't know really what to think about them as of yet. But I think if you add a AJ DeBonsa, you add a Darren Peterson, you add a Cam Boozer to that team, I think that team skyrockets next year, and they could not be a play-in team, but they will definitely be a super competitive team. Whether they keep Michael Porter Jr. or not, I think they'll still be a pretty solid team next year. They definitely won't be the bottom 2 in the Eastern Conference, or bottom 3 in the Eastern Conference, to be exact. Dallas, Chicago, I hope you guys get a top 7 pick, but not top 5. You do not deserve it, especially Dallas. If Dallas gets the first overall pick, the NBA is completely rigged. 1 year, 1% chance to get it. Next year, 6% chance to get it, and they're going to get it both years. I genuinely might cry, because that just means Sacramento is just either really unlucky, which could be the case for Sacramento because they're Sacramento. They're the little brother of all the California teams and all the West Coast teams. Or the NBA is just super rigged and they don't want to see a Sacramento get a stud player. But, only time will tell. So, with that, I'm just going to run a tankathon lottery simulation and we'll see what happens. The first overall pick went to the Indiana Pacers and the Sacramento Kings fell to the 6th overall pick. The OKC Thunder jumped up to number 3. That is another thing that I don't want to see. The Clippers do not jump. Their pick cannot jump. Indiana as well. They might give Los Angeles a top, I believe it's 5 through, protected 1 through 4. So if it's 5 through 10 or 5 through 9, the Clippers will get the Pacers pick, which is super interesting. It's going to be really interesting to watch how the draft lottery is going to play out, because you got the Clippers already giving away their first round pick to OKC, and then you got Indiana could possibly give away their first round pick to the Clippers if they are to fall, which would mean that 2 teams would have to jump up into the top 5, which would be crazy, but, crazy things have happened before. And now with that, my sadness begins as we get closer and closer to the draft lottery. But, I got to keep a positive mindset. That's the only way that the Sacramento Kings can get a first overall pick, is if I keep a positive mindset going in. But if we don't, all blame will be on Vivek Ranadive once again. And, even if we don't get a top 5 pick, I can still blame somebody that isn't myself or isn't anybody that doesn't deserve it because it's all Vivek's fault at the end of the day. Okay, moving on to the second round. We're going to start off in the Eastern Conference with the New York Knicks up 2-0 on the Philadelphia 76ers. Game 1, the Knicks handled business. 137-98 victory. Coming off their 51-point victory against Atlanta, they then went out and beat the Sixers by 39 in the Garden, in the Mecca, and then they come back Game 2 and they beat the Sixers by 6 with no Joel Embiid on the floor. Joel Embiid did play Game 1, but missed Game 2 due to some hip injuries, knee injuries. There was a couple injuries that he was dealing with, which is going to be huge for the Sixers. You need Joel Embiid out on the floor if you want to have a chance at beating this New York Knicks team, because at this point, they got everything running on high cylinders, high alert, and they are not messing around. This Knicks team, this Game 2 wasn't as great as their past two games, but they still handled business late, and despite shooting only 27% for the three-point line, they still were able to pull out the victory. Both games, they have been beat in free throw attempts. Offensive rebounds with no Mitchell Robinson in Game 2, they were beat. So really, this Game 2 was a game that the Sixers kind of needed to win. They shot a lot better from the three-point line, almost doubled the Knicks in that. They beat them on the offensive rebounds. Turnovers were very similar, but the Sixers just continued to turn the ball over once again. And then the thing that really killed them, not having Joel Embiid, 56 points in the paint for the New York Knicks in Game 2 compared to Game 1 where they had, just give me 1 second, Game 1, they had 58. So they're attacking the rim. They're doing all they can to get easy buckets, and they've been getting it. The biggest thing with Joel Embiid on the floor, though, is Joel, however you want to call it, foul baiting, flopping, whatever, he draws a lot of fouls. And that is a huge thing for the Sixers to be able to pull out against a Knicks team. Because with Joel drawing fouls on Cat, on Mitchell Robinson when he's playing, you then get it to a point where you have to put in Ariel Hakporti, which was in Game 2, which, again, no Joel Embiid. Cat was still hacking, and Ariel Hakporti had to come in, which I do think the Game 2 not having Mitch is what really got Cat in foul trouble, because Mike Brown didn't really want to go to Ariel Hakporti, especially against Andre Drummond, because Andre Drummond's a beast down low. Still at his age, he's still really prominent down low, but again, Maxey, just, there's something off with Maxey, Joel Embiid minutes. When Maxey and Joel are on the floor, Maxey is super limited. I think it's because Joel slows the game down so much. He wants to get the ball at the top of the floor, or the top of the key. He wants to survey the defense. He wants to throw some backdoor cuts. He wants to then get it on the low block. He wants to set some soft-ish screens. And it really limits one of the biggest differences that Tyrese Maxey has compared to everybody on the New York Knicks team is that dude is so fast. At this point, he's probably the fastest player in the league. Him and De'Aaron, it's probably super close. I would say I would lean towards Maxey just because he's a little bit younger. But Maxey is so fast, and we saw it in Game 2. He was getting in transition, and he was getting some easy buckets. He was also getting to his little post game, which was fun to watch as a small guard. You don't really see that often. Other than like Jalen Brunson, you see it every once in a while where he gets somebody in the paint. But a guy like Maxey, who's small, but he's not like sturdy like Jalen Brunson is, it's super interesting to watch. And he was killing them from in the low block, mid-range, post-up area. So that's going to be something to watch out for going forward. But I don't know. I think this might be a sweep, honestly. I think the Sixers could get one at home. Depends on if Joel Embiid's going to play or not. They do have game 3 tonight, which let me check if there is any Joel Embiid updates on his injury. Let's see. Doesn't say anything right now about the Sixers star Joel Embiid if he's going to play tonight. So that not having anything yet, it could come very soon. What's going to happen with Joel Embiid tonight? But it's going to have to be a big Tyrese Maxey night. It's going to have to be a big VJ Edgecombe night. PG's got to be better in the clutch. He was back to Pandemic P, which I don't like to call him out for it, but he was back to Pandemic P. He was like 0 for 4 from the three-point line in the fourth quarter. He was playing really good defense. I will give him that. He was playing really good defense on Cat. He was denying the ball. He was limiting Cat's touches. He was getting into Cat's airspace, forcing him to throw up some tough shots and getting some steals and deflections off of him for turnovers, but he just could not hit a bucket in the fourth quarter, and it was tough to watch because obviously PG is such a great player. He had a really good game in my eyes other than the fourth quarter. In this game, he had 17 points, 6 for 11 from the field, 4 for 6 from the three-point line, but he was 0 for 4, I believe, or 0 for 5 from the field in the fourth quarter. It's tough. Tyrese Maxey, or no, this was game 1. Let me look at game 2. Because I was going to say, I feel like PG missed 4 threes in the fourth quarter. PG, 19 points, 7 for 18 shooting, 5 for 13 from the three-point line. Getting more shots up in game 2. Obviously, with no Joel Embiid out, that's going to happen. VJ had a pretty solid game. VJ's been really good. As a rookie, he has his low lights where he's following 94 feet away from the basket, but he's really had a great postseason. The only thing I'm worried about the Sixers, we all knew it coming in. They just don't have any depth that Nick Nurse trusts. He was playing 7 guys for a majority of this game, and then late with Bona and Drummond being in foul trouble, he put Dominic Barlow in, which Dominic Barlow was playing really good in the second half. When he checked in, he was playing excellent basketball, getting offensive rebounds, hustling, tapping balls out, getting some easy buckets, making some good decisions. He's definitely going to be in the rotation for Game 3 and Game 4 if Joel Embiid's not there. Even if Joel Embiid is there, I think you got to give a little bit more rest for guys like PG and Kelly Oubre because their shooting is going to continue to go downhill and downhill and downhill the more they play minutes. And the fact that Maxey's only shooting 9 for 23 in Game 2, it's tough. The biggest thing to watch out for the Knicks, OG Anunoby does pick up a hamstring injury in Game 2. He is day-to-day right now. Most likely not going to play Game 3. They're probably just going to hope, hey, we're the Knicks. We have more depth. We're just a better team than the Sixers. Can we go up 3-0 so we can give OG some rest? I think that's what's going to happen. And then Cat, I've been calling him soft, and he continues to be soft at some points. Bad fouls at times, but he has really turned up after Game 3 of the Hawks series. The way Mike Brown is using Karl Anthony Towns at this point as a playmaker at the top of the key has been huge. The off-ball cutting, the off-ball movement in general just looks so much better when Cat is on the floor because you do have that playmaker in Karl Anthony Towns where if you go to a Mitch, you go to Ariel Hawkporty, they're just down in the dunker position waiting for a clean-up rebound or for somebody to just dump it down low to them. Cat, though, I mean, you have to respect him from outside. He hits a 3. Then you got Andre Drummond jumping out of him, and he's just driving by. Cat has been much better since Game 3 of the Atlanta Hawks series, and I think it's the way Mike Brown is using him. as more of an on-ball creator at some points. And I think it's really benefited like an OG and a McHale, who are great off-ball cutters. OG has also been excellent. Didn't shoot well from beyond the arc in Game 2, which nobody really did for the Knicks other than Cat. He was 1 for 1, and Jose Alvarado was 1 for 1. Game 1, they were just lighting it up from beyond the arc. Game 2, they weren't hitting those, but they still pulled out with a victory. It's going to be a big loss not having OG if he doesn't play tonight, but I still think this Knicks team is going to take care of business, and it's going to be off the back of a big Jalen Brunson game. He likes to play in Philly. He likes to let the fans hear when he's coming, and you got that little cross-town, cross-river rivalry, whatever you want to call it, between the Knicks and the Sixers. So this is going to be don't slouch on these final 2 games. I think they're going to be good. I think the Knicks will probably win this series in 5, but I think they will all be good games in my eyes. With that, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we'll be back to talk about the other, or actually no, before we go to commercial break, Boston Celtics. I do want to say this. Philly comes back, upsets the Boston Celtics, and now everybody's in a frenzy about what Boston's going to do. I do want to say, first off, Jaylen Brown, you are a sore loser. You just want to complain about Joel Embiid flopping after you lose. You've beaten Joel Embiid in the playoffs before. You beat Jalen Brunson in the playoffs before. You don't want to complain about him flopping. You didn't complain about him flopping last year when you lost to him in the playoffs. But I'm just going to keep it real. Jalen Brunson flops. Joel Embiid flops. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander flops. There's so many people in the NBA that flop. And he's talking about, flopping's just ruining the game. Bro, shut up. You are a sore loser. You were up 3-1 in the series on a battered and bruised Philadelphia 76ers team, and you couldn't pull it out. Yes, you didn't have Jason Tatum in Game 7. Does that change the outcome? Most likely, because he is Jason Tatum. But you were also playing at an MVP level all season long, and you just proved to us that you will only ever be the Robin in Boston. I know you have the Finals MVP. You're going to live that till the day you die that you won a Finals MVP over Jason Tatum. You have always been and always will be the Robin to Jason Tatum as Batman. End of story, Jaylen Brown. And now all these rumors are coming out from your mentor, Tracy McGrady, from Bill Simmons, that you're frustrated with the Celtics organization. They just gave you the keys this year. You played like an MVP. You got them to the 2nd seed in the Eastern Conference. Yeah, you did your thing. But when we needed you the most in Game 7 of the NBA playoffs against a team that we were up 3-1 on, you had 3 games to close it out, and you could not do it. And you couldn't do it with Jason Tatum on the floor, and you couldn't do it without Jason Tatum on the floor. You need to look yourself in the mirror and say, did we lose because Joel Embiid flopping, or did we lose because of me? Because in my eyes, you did not lose because of Joel Embiid flopping. You lost because you gave up a Game 2 in TD Garden to Tyrese Maxey and a rookie VJ Edgecombe. You then go and beat them both games on their home floor. You're feeling good. You got a Peyton Pritchard 33-point game. You're pushing off every single possession, but you don't want to talk about that. You want to talk about, they had a red dot on me saying, when Jaylen Brown does this move, call it on him. Get out of here. You literally did it at the end of Game 7, and they did not call it. You literally pushed VJ Edgecombe into Joel Embiid's knee, but you don't want to talk about that play that happened. You don't want to talk about that you lost Game 5 in your home arena, being up 3-1, being able to close it out. You don't want to talk about Game 6 where you didn't close it out either. And then back on your home floor, Game 7 in one of the biggest arenas in the entire NBA, in TD Garden, one of the most famous, and all you want to go to after the game is that flopping is ruining the game. Let's talk about your offensive fouls, you push-off princess. That's what they're calling you now, and that's what they should be calling you. You had 9 offensive fouls in like the first 3 games of the series. Be for real. Just learn to not push off. It's not that you are a strong NBA player. You are probably one of the strongest wings in the entire NBA. You do not need to push off every single time, and if you do need to, then clearly your scoring ability is not at the level that you think you are. That's all I got to say, Jaylen Brown. And then for Boston fans, it is disappointing that you do blow a 3-1 lead, that your MVP caliber player, Jaylen Brown, did not show up the final 3 games of the series to close it out for you, that Jason Tatum wasn't able to play Game 7. Obviously, coming off an Achilles injury, you got to give him the benefit of the doubt that, maybe he shouldn't play. I'm still team, if you're in Game 7 in the NBA playoffs, you got to play. That's just who I am. If you don't play in a Game 7, you can't. The only thing you could do is hurt your team at that point. But really, Boston fans, NBA fans, there's nothing to just blow this team up about. Boston, nobody expected them to be the 2 seed. And I'll give Jaylen Brown his flowers. He carried them to a number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference. I will give him that. It is incredibly disappointing that you were up 3-1 on a battered and bruised 7th seed Philadelphia 76ers team. But again, you were not projected to be in that position. I think people still expected the Sixers or the Celtics to be in the playoffs, but they did not expect them to be a 2 seed. They did not expect them to, at the point of the playoffs starting, everybody was looking at Boston as the team to be in the playoffs again this year, the team to be in the Eastern Conference. So yes, was the drama and the pressure on Boston a little bit unawardable because they were such a random team this year? They didn't really have those guys that you're like, yeah, Game 7, we can win this, especially if Jason Tatum isn't on the floor. No. Should we have placed them as the team to beat in the Eastern Conference going into the playoffs? Probably not, but we all kind of jumped on the fact that Jason Tatum was playing like Jason Tatum, only, 9 months removed from his Achilles injury. So, again, nothing to blow this team out for. The only thing that's really going to blow up this team is how Jaylen Brown is going to react to going back to the number 2 option, because that is something that could definitely mess up the chemistry in Boston. And if Jaylen Brown decides eventually he wants to request a trade and he wants to go be his own man because this was his favorite year of playing basketball because he was the number 1 option, that is something to watch out for. But I don't think it's going to happen. Like I said, Jaylen Brown will always be Jason Tatum's Robin. And with that, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back to talk about the other second-round games. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Beyond the Scoreboard, presented by RDSC. And we are going to finish off talking about the second-round playoff matchups for the rest of the show, starting off with the other Eastern Conference matchup. Elias! Orlando fans, you could stay at Disney, you could stay at wherever you want. Sit there, get comfortable, because you're going to have a long time before this Orlando Magic team hears anything good out of my mouth. Orlando will not hear anything good out of my mouth. You know what they did do good? They fired Jamal Mosley. Finally. Elias was talking. Paolo Banchero, nah, he didn't do the talking. Cade Cunningham over Paolo. Cade Cunningham has easily been, in my opinion, the best player in the playoffs in all the playoff series. Cade Cunningham has been hooping. When you need him the most, He goes and gets you a bucket. He playing some excellent defense. And he took care of business against this Orlando Magic team. And now he's taking care of business against the Cleveland Cavaliers, who I was questioning how Detroit was going to look against Cleveland. First 2 games, they do exactly what they need to do. Win a close game and then win a game that looked close, but in my eyes, game 1 just really wasn't that close. Playing in Little Caesars Arena, Detroit just brings all the energy. You got Duncan Robinson going out there getting steals. You got Asar flying down the court. Dennis Jenkins having big games. Cade Cunningham blocking Dennis Schroeder off his face. This series has been so fun to watch for me, obviously, because I love the Pistons. I love Cade Cunningham. I think he is a future MVP in the NBA. I think he will be the first non-foreign player to win MVP for the first time in a long time because of what he does in Detroit. Next year is going to be his year. Dark horse for MVP next year, Cade Cunningham. Mark my words right now. But Cade, the Pistons, they're handling business. The Cavaliers, Donovan Mitchell can't do much better than what he did last night. But James Harden needs to show up at some point. I mean, when the trade happened for Darius Garland, I was so stoked about this team. I was like, this is James Harden's best team since Brooklyn. Philly didn't work out. Los Angeles didn't work out. He gets to Cleveland, and I'm like, this is a good team for Cleveland, and it looks good at the start. Got Jared Allen looking like I don't even know who. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody play like Jared Allen in those first couple of games with James Harden. And now it's playoff time, and he's got I don't even know how many turnovers. I saw a stat about it, but it was a lot more than people were expecting. And then he's not even looking at the rim. He's not even looking at the rim in these games. He shot 3 for 13, but there were some shots that he just was not taking. And the shots he was taking were just not good shots. I remember at one point in game 2, he had a fast break with 2 other people. It was like a 3-on-1. And James Harden pulls it out. He's driving to the paint and then he pulls it out. I just did not understand. James Harden, that I know, goes up for a floater, goes up for a layup, passes it to somebody after he jumps in the air. And it's just, James Harden is not looking like James Harden whatsoever. And we're getting back to those playoff woes that everybody talks about with James Harden. And at this point, it's true. It's just who he is at this point. And Cleveland, obviously, they struggle on the road. And they lose game 1 and game 2. And they have not been able to win a road game at all this postseason. They're 4-0 at home, 0-5 on the road. They cannot let Detroit win a game in Cleveland. If Detroit wins a game in Cleveland, this is going to be a 5-game series. This even could be a 4-game series. Detroit is playing excellent basketball. Now, in game 2, they weren't shooting the best. Game 1, I believe they weren't shooting the best. Detroit, the thing with Detroit is it's the timely threes they make. They're not going to shoot as many threes as the opposite team that they're playing. They shot 28 in this game, and they made 14. So they shot 50% from the field, from the three-point line. But it's the timely threes. You got Duncan Robinson hitting one on the wing, and then you got him hitting one in the corner, and then you got Tobias Harris hitting one, and then you got Cade hitting one off the screen. Then you got, at the end of the quarter, they've hit 3 end-of-quarter shots that I think have just demoralized Cleveland. And that is the energy that you bring at home when you are the Detroit Pistons, when you're playing a team that has much more playoff basketball experience with James Harden, with all these guys. But really, Detroit is looking like the more experienced team. James Harden's struggling out there. And Donovan Mitchell is struggling for 2 quarters out of the game, but then the other 2, he's looking really good. And then Detroit's owning the offensive glass. In game 2, they were owning the offensive glass. In the paint, they're keeping it close. This Detroit team is super fun to watch. They are definitely, in my eyes, going to make it out of this round against Cleveland because I trust them winning a road game more than I trust the Cleveland Cavaliers winning a road game. And they don't need to at this point. They do hold home court advantage, but I do think they are going to take care of business in 5 or 6 games. I think they're going to win at least 2 games on the road in Cleveland. Because really, it's not that long of a drive. It's like 2.5 hours, 3 hours maybe from Cleveland to Detroit. So watch out for that. And now we are going to move on. Just one last. Orlando fans, get comfy. Sitting at Disney with Robin Lopez. Sitting at Disney watching Mickey Mouse because it'll be a long time before you get a ring. Especially if Paolo's your best player. Shout out Elias for that. All right, moving on to the Western Conference. We're going to start off with the easy series that's just kind of been a snooze fest. Thunder, Lakers. The Lakers gave a good game 1 up until the end of the third quarter. Like most Thunder games, at times the team could keep it close, and then the Thunder just turn the water off. They get in transition, they hit some big threes, then they just demoralize their team because they just go on such a quick 10-0 run. And really, Oklahoma City, in my eyes, they haven't played their best brand of basketball these last couple of games. They've been giving up a lot of offensive rebounds, giving up a lot of three-pointers. Shea has not had an excellent first 2 games. He did not score 20 points in game 1. He only had 18 points. And then game 2, he goes on, scores 22. He has been turning the ball over a little bit in these first 2 games of the series, which is a little bit of something to worry about going forward. But it could just still be rust, honestly. And then the Thunder, they just have so many. Like, I say it every time I talk about the Thunder. They just have too many bodies to throw at teams. Like, Jalen Williams is giving you good minutes off the bench. Alex Caruso, Jared McCain, who didn't play in round 1 barely, he's giving you really good minutes. Cason Wallace, Isaiah Joe comes in and he hits 2 mid-range buckets. I mean, everybody on the Thunder, if they're going to play significant minutes, they are going to make their input on the game. And for the Lakers, that's something that I can't say. Jake LaRavia, 10 minutes, 0 points, 0 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 turnover, 1 steal. Luke Kennard, 10 points. Jackson Hayes, 6 points, 3 rebounds in 15 minutes. And those are the only guys that played over 10 minutes off the bench. Then Marcus Smart is shooting terribly from the three-point line. Luke Kennard was more aggressive in game 2, but he still needs to shoot more. He can't shoot 3 shots from the three-point line. This is literally what J.J. Redick was talking about all last series. He was like, Luke Kennard has to shoot more. He did it in the first 3 games of the series. After that, he just has kind of been quiet. And it's good if you're going to get 2 to 3 threes out of him. But if you're down 18 points, 2 to 3 threes out of Luke Kennard is not changing the game. If he shoots 8 to 10 threes a game and you're getting 6 out of him, 5 or 6, then there's a chance that this game could be closer. This game could change the outcome at the end. DeAndre Ayton, I gave him some praise yesterday on Sports Flash because he's been really active all postseason long. And for a guy that I give a lot of flack to all regular season about him not buying into his role, he has been so much better in the postseason. I do want to give him a little bit of flowers for that. But game 2, 3 points in 27 minutes. He wasn't even in foul trouble. Just 3 points. He did have 10 rebounds, 5 offensive rebounds, which he's been killing all postseason long is on the offensive glass. Rui continues to be super efficient, but Austin Reeves, he had a good game too, but that's just not enough, honestly. Him and LeBron combining for 54 points and you still lose by 18, that's just not enough. You're going to have a 40-point game from Austin Reeves if you want to see the Lakers at least win one game. And at this point, it's just not going to happen. I do want to say, though, Lakers fans that continue to complain, you got Lakers players continuing to complain, you're doing the exact same thing that the Thunder are doing. Two wrongs do not make a right. Marcus Smart flopping every single play, throwing his body into people, getting offensive fouls. Yes, that's going to happen. The Thunder are doing it too. Last night, I will say the refs, in my eyes, were terrible. There was a lot of bad calls. I will give it that. Game 1, though, you had Shea not playing good. He was trying to quote-unquote foul bait, and he wasn't getting the calls, and he was turning the ball over. And yet you still want to complain about it. Like, there will never be a way in which the refs can win in this series because the Lakers will either just say, oh, well, the refs lost us the game, or the refs gave the game to the Thunder. It's like there's no way of winning if you're a ref when you are refereeing the Thunder because Shea does get fouled. If you call the foul and it's a little accentuated, then it's like, oh, well, he's foul baiting. Shea last night was not foul baiting in my eyes. He did not have a great game. He did shoot 9 free throws, but all of his free throws were fouls. And I believe 2 of them were off techs, so you do have to take that into account as well. And Lakers fans, everybody just wants to continue to complain, continue to harp on my guy Shea. Like, bro, grow up, people. Like, it's really not that serious. Foul baiting has been a part of the NBA, and now that somebody is doing it and they're winning, we all want to complain about it. Enough. You sound childish wanting to do that. You sound like a little kid complaining that you're not getting your way. The Lakers are getting their whistle. They are getting their whistle, and they just want to continue to complain about it. Whenever somebody loses, they always want to complain about the refs. Just grow up. That's all I got to say about Lakers fans and anybody that is anti-Oklahoma City Thunder and anti-Shea. And now the final series, the 1-1 series, which at this point has been the best series despite having a blowout game 2. The San Antonio Spurs versus the Minnesota Timberwolves. Game 1. What a game. Ant, quiet to start, heats up a little bit at the end of the first quarter. Then sits for a very long time in the second and third quarter. Comes back out, just doesn't look the same. Start of the fourth quarter, that boy turns up. 11 points in the fourth. He finished the game with 18 points. This was a game where Jaden McDaniels was in foul trouble. Julius Randle still. Minnesota needs more out of Julius Randle. I know it's tough for a guy that it makes his money in the paint on the low block, bullying people, and you got one of the best shot blockers in the league down there. It's tough. You're going to get your shot blocked. Chris Finch told them, we're going to get our shot blocked. You got to continue to go at him. We can't be scared of him. And they showed that in game 1. They were really attacking him. Straight line drives from Terrence Shannon Jr. and Anthony Edwards. Mike Conley was hitting clutch threes off of driving kicks. But, man, it's tough because game 1, really, San Antonio should have won. Julian Champagnie had such a good look at the basket at the very end of the game and just did not knock it down. I was worried that he was going to lose confidence in himself, but then game 2 came around and that boy was hot from deep. For the Spurs' sake, game 1, they just shot really poorly from the three-point line. 10 for 36, and they were playing excellent defense with Victor Wembanyama having 12 blocks, quote-unquote 12 blocks, I will say that. I'm not going to take away his credit because he was getting a lot of blocks, but there were a couple that were not blocks. They were either goaltends or fouls, but in the heat of the moment, you can't go against it. I do want to say, though, the people that complain about Shea getting the call don't want to say anything about Victor Wembanyama getting the call. I will say that, but game 1, San Antonio just let it slip a little bit at the very end. And then game 2, they come out. De'Aaron Fox was hot early in this game. Kind of just, that was the key to this game going in favor of the San Antonio Spurs. You have De'Aaron Fox early in this game getting going. Victor Wembanyama was much better in game 2 on the offensive end. He was hitting his shots from deep, which in game 1, he was shooting a lot of shots from beyond the arc. In game 2, he still shot 7, but he did shoot more shots inside the paint and inside the perimeter. Stephon Castle, the only thing I'm really worried about for the San Antonio Spurs team going forward, if they handle business in Minnesota, can move on and play the Oklahoma City Thunder. We know Shea does have a great whistle, like many star players do. Stephon Castle, game 1 of the Timberwolves series, and game 6 of the Trailblazers series, he fouled out both games. In game 3, where this was a 38-point victory by the San Antonio Spurs, he still had 5 fouls. So that is something to watch out for going forward. But the bench unit for, I think the biggest thing that's going to steer the San Antonio Spurs in the way of victory against this Minnesota Timberwolves team is they just have such a deep team. You got Dylan Harper coming off the bench giving you, like, the 2 teams in the West that are going to meet in the Western Conference Finals are because they are so deep. They are so incredibly deep. And that is exactly what you build your team on. Depth wins championships along with defense. Both teams in the West that are going to meet in the Western Conference Finals at this point have both of those characteristics. Minnesota, I do hope that Ant in these next 2 games in Minnesota can feel a little bit more like himself. But again, it's tough. He's playing on 2 bad knees. And like you said, after game 1, it's like 75% of the game is mental. And if I feel good enough, I'm going to be on the floor. But he's just not as athletic as we assume to see Anthony Edwards on the floor. It's just tough. And personally, after seeing this game too, I'm not going to completely rule out Minnesota, but I'm still going to lean in favor of the San Antonio Spurs. But, this is the Minnesota Timberwolves this whole season. They get blown out one game, and then they come back 2 games, 3 games in a row. They're beating the best team in the league, and they're looking like the best team in the league. But that wasn't when they were banged up with no Dante, Anthony Edwards playing on 1 knee. Ayo Dosunmu only played 10 minutes of this game, I believe, 0 for 4, and then he left back with his calf injury. So it's tough. This Timberwolves team, they are just extremely fatigued and injured, and that's the end of the story for them, honestly. And it sucks that that's probably going to be the end of the story for them, but, I say it every time I talk about the Timberwolves. Every time somebody picks against them, they somehow come out with a victory. So maybe that will happen in this series, but I believe the Spurs will move on to face the Thunder in the conference finals. And that is the end of the show today, guys. I hope you enjoyed listening to Beyond the Scoreboard. We'll be back next week to continue talking about the second round and the third round coming up. And maybe, just maybe, there will be some sadness or some happiness with how the draft lottery goes on Sunday. Like I said, hope you guys enjoyed listening. This has been Beyond the Scoreboard, presented by RDSE, and I'm your host, Michael Lyons.